Hello and welcome back to my channel. Jacob Payton here, and we're talking about The Devil Comes to Ohio, or Devil in Ohio, sorry, by Daria Polatin. Yeah, beautiful cover right off the back. I'm not gonna lie, that is what initially drew me to the book. We'll read the inside. It says, "Evil comes in many forms. When 15-year-old Jules Mathis comes home from school to find a strange girl sitting in her kitchen, her psychiatrist mother reveals that May is one of her patients at the hospital and will be staying with their family for a few days. But soon May is wearing Jules' clothes, sleeping in her bedroom, edging her out of her position on the school paper and flirting with Jules' crush. And May has no intention of leaving. Then things get weird. Jules walks in on a half-dressed May, startled to see a pentagram carved into May's back. Jules begins to piece together who May really is and where she's from, only to discover that May's family will stop at nothing to get her back." Bum bum bum. Yeah. So I will be 100% honest. I did buy this book based off the book cover. I love this cover. I mean, it's awesome. It even has this creepy church in the background on the back. It has all these people going into the church. I mean, obviously, like, the inside of the book has a pentagram on it, upside down one, and it even talks about, like, some satanic cult and stuff. We have that going on in the book. Now, that being said, this book was definitely for a younger audience than I thought it was, based off the cover and when I picked it up. I'll be honest, if I had known what this book was actually about, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. That being said, altogether, it wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't necessarily a horror book. So that was a little disappointing to me. This book is, once again, it is definitely aimed at a much more younger audience than even like what I think of as typical young adult fiction is today. I mean, while they do talk about some adult subject matter in here, the book really isn't even a horror book. So I was a little upset, I guess, based off of that marketing. I mean, we even have this church that's like slightly covered in blood. The basis of the book is about cult abuse and abuse of children, and basically people not taking it seriously. And it was just kind of really weird. I don't know how else to put that. It felt like there were times it was going to lean into something that was going to be supernatural, and then it would not. Even the character of May, I mean, midway through the book, we have May starting to behave in a very sinister manner. It even says, to the point where she's copying the main character and edging her out of her family circle. And there is even a weird instance that May has with the dad that gave me major Orphan vibes, if you're familiar with the Orphan movie. That's what it felt like. So there was times, like there was another scene where May is chanting in the park or in a cemetery. I'm sorry, minor spoilers here. And nothing really came of it. Everyone kind of shrugged it off. There's also, and it's talked about time and time again in the book, an unnatural attraction people have towards May, right? She becomes like the most popular girl in school right off the bat. Like, there's a lot going on that made it feel like something sinister was going to happen with the character of May that never really fully developed. Spoiler alert here, in the end, she is just a victim. And I'll be honest, I kind of thought that was disappointing because, once again, based off the cover and the description we have inside, I mean, it definitely feels like this book is brewing towards something sinister. Even the cult itself was kind of a letdown. They were just basically a bunch of people who were super abusive towards children and believed in very wild religious practices. And I'll be honest, the way they built things up, I really thought there was going to be more to that. So the ending was kind of a letdown. I don't want to spoil the complete ending of the book, but I will say that nothing supernatural happens in the entire book. Everything is kind of explained away, and there really isn't a horror element. There's kind of a true crime element. And there is also the fact that the main character's mom is kind of portrayed as the hero a bit in this book because she never stops looking into May's case and wants to bring her abusers to justice. But even when the book goes to point out the fact that she does so by ignoring her job, her work, and all of her children, her family, and her husband. It basically shrugs it off as like, oh, well, this is the price of heroism, which I kind of felt was a bit much. I kind of, horror element aside, I kind of thought the main character deserved a little more, maybe even like an apology from her mom. Her mom, of course, there is a reason she's acting this way, but I don't know. I felt like it would have made more sense if May was a sinister figure for the mom's irrational behavior than the reason we are given, because by the time we are giving it, it feels more like an excuse. And I mean, by this point, her behavior is like completely off the rails irrational. She's not going to work. She's not taking care of her kids. She's been in a car accident where it alleges, spoiler alert, kind of that her brakes have been cut, but that never gets looked into. So it was kind of weird. I felt like the ending of the book, or at least like the middle and then past that, is very, it was almost kind of like rushed. It felt like, and I didn't really enjoy the payoff in the end. If you're looking for a teen drama involving an orphan who's kind of involved with a cult, or not an orphan, but a kid that's running from a cult and is involved in a cult, then you will definitely like this book. If you want a supernatural horror story, young adult or otherwise, that is about a satanic cult or anything like that, where there is like some supernatural or horror elements, or you're looking for a book that's kind of got that orphan vibe like the description alleges, I don't think you're going to be super thrilled with this book. I mean, the cover is beautiful, but there really just wasn't anything scary in this book. Once again, everything supernatural was kind of shrugged away, and even the odd circumstances are never really explained. Or even looked into, right? The characters at times say, we're going to look into why this happened, and then just never do. So you really don't get the payoff of even like the cult being behind certain sinister behavior that happens to the characters, because a lot of it's never really investigated. Which just seemed a bit, I don't know, like I said, it was just kind of a letdown. I do think, once again, this book, though, is probably for a much younger audience. And while it does have some scary stuff, not scary stuff, the horror element that is trying to be introduced is done so in a very satanic, panicky way. I mean, the bad guys in this book are literally a town that the urban legend states that everyone is a Satanist. And then we were given a new villain at the end, and a different adoptive mother who we know has OTO tattooed on her wrist, which is another religious organization that is, I think it was started by Aleister Crowley way back when. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure there's tons of information out there on the internet, but even that is just kind of thrown in at the end. And it's kind of very ambiguous towards, what the author really, I guess, is trying to get through about religion, or if they're just, if it's satanic abuse. It almost feels kind of like a book that could have come out in like the 80s or 90s in a way. I mean, minus the cell phones and stuff like that, just the whole satanic panicky vibe, which would have maybe been an interesting setting. But anyway, I'm getting off the tracks here. If you're looking for a horror book, this is not a horror book. If you're looking for a cult kind of true crime-ish thriller for like I said, a younger audience, I'm talking like early teenage, not like young adult like we see today. Like I said, there are jokes and stuff that are being made in here that are obviously they're high school age jokes, but yeah, this just isn't really... like the Akatar series kind of had more jump scares, if that makes sense to some of you. But yeah, it was all right. I'm I'm not going to recommend it if you're looking for a horror book, but other than that, if you have read this book, you think I'm wrong, you think I'm right, you agree, you disagree, let me know in the comments, or recommend some different books to me that are more of like horror with cults and folk horror and all that type of stuff, because I would definitely love checking that out. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.